Hello, I am Quinny. Welcome to the channel, guys. In this video today, we're going to be following up with some transfer speculation from last week. Josip Juranovic is subject to serious interest and bids in the offing from Atletico Madrid. Now, last week we covered this on the channel when Fabrizio Romano tweeted out saying that he expected Juranovic to be sold in this window. And in that video, I basically laid out saying why I didn't think it was going to happen, because there is a plethora of other right-back options that are maybe a bit younger or maybe just kind of fit the mould a bit more of what the elite teams are looking for in their fullbacks. But with these Atletico Madrid links, I actually feel really stupid, because the majority of that list, I was able to comprise that from thinking about who are Atletico Madrid interested in for right back, because they have got a gaping hole there since losing Kieran Trippier the season before last. So I do think they're going to come in hard for Josip Juranovic. In this video today, I'm going to be talking about basically why I think, from a club perspective, from the path that Celtic are going down now in terms of really trying to grow in stature throughout European football, why we should be looking to sell Josip Juranovic to Atletico Madrid. I'll also be talking about how I think our posture should be and the sort of negotiating strategy the club should be adopting with that kind of wider context of what right backs are available in the market. I'd be very interested to hear your thoughts on all this in the comment section down below, so please drop it in there and I'll jump in there and interact with you, and we'll feature them in any follow-ups that comes from this impending transfer saga. At any point in the video, if you do laugh, you learn, you like something or whatever, please do like and subscribe, share, retweet, all that good stuff, guys. Stay out of trouble, and let's get stuck into it. If you could hit the subscribe button, I do daily global football content, everything from Wonder Kids and Rising Star Managers to fantasy football and watch-alongs. That will also automatically enter you into my April giveaway. This month I'm giving away a rare under-23 midfielder, Luciano Ferreira of Rosario Central, and 2 limited goalkeepers. If you want to stick around to the end of the video, we'll get into all the giveaway stuff again there. Now, I think Celtic fans, certainly of my generation give or take, have all been kind of waiting for years for Celtic to really take its place in the kind of transfer food chain of European football. For far too long in my lifetime, you know, Celtic just, if we do get good players, we either get totally bumped on them, or people just underrate them so high, so vastly, that any transfer they make, maybe it's not optimal and maybe they kind of fizzle out, that sort of thing. But over the last 5 or 6 years, you know, the club has been attracting better players, been developing players to a higher standard, and we've slowly but surely been filtering out our best players into some of the best clubs around Europe eventually. Okay, now some of you might remember this, you might not, but I think it was 2000 and whenever we signed Fraser Forster on a permanent, it was the season after that. We'd played Atletico Madrid the year before. Courtois was going back to Chelsea, and Atletico Madrid needed a replacement goalkeeper, and it was one of those seasons where we had to play like the first round of qualifiers, and we were back in like July or something. And I remember the report going to something to the effect of, if Fraser Forster plays against the Iceland team at that time, it would have cup tied them for the whole Champions League, then Atletico Madrid wouldn't have been interested. Of course, the club wants to qualify for the group stage and ploughed on and played them anyway. As it then developed, Atletico Madrid go and sign Jan Oblak from Benfica, and then right as we qualify for the group stages, Benfica are interested in signing Fraser Forster, and again we refute and rebut those approaches and end up selling him on a year later to Southampton, where Fraser Forster's career really hasn't done anything since, and you don't need me to go through the whole history of his career in terms of the loans with Celtic and all that caper. But anyone who watched Fraser Forster around that time, I firmly believe, had he went to Benfica or maybe even Atletico Madrid, his career would have been completely different to the career we know it as today. And it's not Celtic's responsibility to ensure players get to better teams, but as soon as a club, like who I'm looking at and thinking Celtic should be surpassing in all aspects of football, is teams like Ajax, Porro, Benfica, Salzburg, Bruges, all of these other teams that seem very capable of, even though they're in like lesser domestic competitions, they still sell their best players to the best teams in the world for significant transfer fees. And Celtic just don't do that for whatever reason. I've made a little list of some of the transfers we've had out over the last couple of years just to help give a bit of context. So Virgil van Dijk is the poster child of like, oh, Celtic, we can like unearth a gem and get them, you know, push them towards the top of the game. But the unfortunate thing is in the wider context of world football, Southampton probably get more credit for Van Dijk, rightly or wrongly, than Celtic do. Other players that we've highly regarded that haven't really kicked on or whatever, guys like Wanyama went to Southampton, did amazing. Tottenham did pretty well but was injury stricken. Dembele and Edouard, two guys we absolutely loved, but Edouard we end up almost begging a team to pay us good money for him when he was like an elite under 21 forward for France and all the rest of it. He goes to Crystal Palace, and fair enough, it's the Prem and he's done okay, but it's Crystal Palace. Dembele again, like we're almost scratching around Europe trying to find people to take this player off us who can afford him. Goes to Lyon, and again, like I know he had a good season last year and whatever, but he's not really kicked on. Christopher Ayer, who I am convinced is going to go right to the top of European football eventually, goes to Brentford, and I know Brentford have got a great Moneyball reputation, but it's not the elite of world football, you know. And then a bunch of other guys that we've had over the last couple of years, like Josip Juranovic, ended up being unattached, and then guys that were really good for us, and you think, yeah, they're really handy players and they can go to like a good level of European football, like Ryan Christie, Stuart Armstrong, Stefan Johansson, Ki Sung Young, and they end up like all just becoming like kind of bit part players in the Premier League. Now that's great for us for attracting players that want to go to the Prem, but especially some of the best talents in world football that we can potentially be affording and potentially be attracting with the lure of European football and be able to win medals and trophies and all the rest of it. These guys want to go to Spain. They want to go to the biggest teams in England, the bigger teams in Germany and Italy and all these places. And Celtic needs to now position itself as a team that will get you there. If you sign for us and you play well, these teams look at us and these teams will buy you. And if that's your goal, is to go to right at the top of the game, you're the age between 18 and 24, and you're coming into Celtic, you're then going to choose us over other options that are maybe pushing us out in that edge at the moment. Like at the moment, we're heavily linked, for example, with Vinicius Souza, and the main competitors for his signature is PSV, Ajax and Bruges, and Benfica, I think, are kind of knocking around as well. Fenerbahce are now out the race. But we should be, like, if we're being serious about a player, we shouldn't have as much jeopardy around these other teams wanting them as well, because these other teams have got a demonstrable evidence of play for Ajax for a couple of years. You could go to Barca, you could go to Real Madrid, you could go to Man United, you could go to Man City, you could go anywhere. We don't have that. So that's why I think, like, we should be looking to sell Juranovic, and that takes me on to, like I was saying with Dembele and Edouard and almost Ayer to an extent, you're almost kind of scratching around, like, this guy's really good, please sell him, please buy him off us because he's out of contract in 12 months and we need some money for him or the fans will kill us. But as far as it comes to Juranovic and the right backs, there is a lot of other right backs out there in the market, and if Atletico Madrid are coming to us for Juranovic, it needs to be the club's position that Juranovic is the best in class. You know, when I was making that list last week and thinking about the other right backs that are available in the market, guys like Pedro, Porro, Molina, even Frimpong, for me, I'd pick Juranovic over almost all of them. You're buying a player at peak age, at the peak of his powers. He's really coming into his own, and Atletico Madrid and Simeone, like, I think he would fit in there no problem at all. I think he'd be an instant fan favourite, and I think he would rise to the level, no question at all. So that's the attitude Celtic have got to have with selling this player to Atletico Madrid. Is like, he is your best option, and it's not because we're going to be selling him cheap. It's because he is the best player that you could possibly acquire in the right back market across Europe. That then gives Celtic an abundance of credit. You know, like I'm talking about Southampton maybe taking some of our Van Dijk credit. You might even say Leverkusen might do that with Frimpong as well if he was to move on from there. Same with Bournemouth and Christie, and Southampton and Armstrong. You know, these players, when they go to these other kind of middle of the food chain teams, then they maybe steal some of the credit before they sell them on. And yeah, we're great for getting sell-on bonuses, which is fine. But when you get the sell-on bonuses at Atletico Madrid, and you know, Juranovic at 26 or whatever he is, he's not going to make, you wouldn't imagine it's too likely he moves from Atletico Madrid for a huge sum of money thereafter. He probably stays there for about 5 years if it takes the way you would think it would. But all the same, that's then us putting a player into one of the biggest teams in Europe, and then anyone else we are going for looks at that and goes, wow, I can get to the top of the game playing for Celtic. I can go there, play the home games at Champions League in the legendary atmosphere, in the legendary stadium, have some history there, and then if I do well enough and I back myself enough and I think I'm a top player and I'm going to go to the top of the game, then these big teams are really, it's my lifelong ambition, dream to play for, will come calling. And that's the carrot we need to have now, because with Ajax, Fenerbahce, Bruges, we can kind of spend the same money as all these guys. Scotland is maybe not got the climate that's quite as conducive to some of these players where they're from, South America and whatever, but it's about what the offering is, what the end goal is. Go there, develop, improve, and then once you've sold a few players into Atletico Madrid, even Leverkusen if you want to include Frimpong in this, you could even include, I suppose, Dembele with Lyon, but once we extend that track record, then eventually, like Liverpool, Man City, these teams are not going to mess about anymore and wait for our players to go to Brentford and learn the Prem before they then go and spend 60 million on them. They'll then just start coming to source, and then we can then start commanding much higher transfer fees and get the club like right up the food chain. That's really where the club should be doing for most of my lifetime, I feel, and it feels like we're making those steps and those progresses forward. Now, I love Juranovic. I would hate to see him leave as just like a fan. I want to see him play for us next year. I want to see him play for us in the Champions League. I want to see him go to the World Cup as a Celtic player and really like probably boost his price tag, if I'm honest. But the cold hard reality of it is Ralston has been playing very well anyway to be a number one while we go back into the transfer market, and I think the club over the last 18 months has demonstrated talent ID is now credible, and anyone they would look to bring in, one of the big right backs we were linked to, Buta, is now moved to Frankfurt, who won the Europa League last year. So any right back we would pursue, and it would cost a fraction of what we would sell Juranovic for, I can get right behind that on a lot of different levels. From the club perspective, I think it's a win-win situation, and from the fans, there's a lot of pressure on Ralston to continue his form, and then, you know, do we go and pick up another player? I would also be interested to know your thoughts in the comment section down below. If we were to pick up another player, would we go back to Japan? Would we go around Europe again and look for another kind of Vinicius Souza type? Do we go back into South America and maybe pick up another Bernabé type? I hope you've enjoyed this one, guys. Well, I'm sure we'll be following up with this transfer saga as it develops. Don't forget to like, subscribe and share and retweet and all that good stuff, guys. Stay out of trouble, and I'll catch you on the next one. Take care. Bye-bye. Let's get into all the giveaway stuff before I let you go. I'm still doing monthly giveaways and I'm making it easier to enter. If you want to be entered to win this month's prize or any future giveaways here at the channel, all the same rules will always apply. Hit the subscribe button, you need to be a subscriber to enter, then leave a comment down below. Each month, a random comment from a random video will be selected as the winner, so the more videos you leave a comment on, the better the chance you've got of winning any of my giveaways. All the winners are announced at the end of videos the same way as we're doing here. The best way to keep up with the content has always been to hit the notification bell with all notifications turned on. As always, guys, if you've enjoyed the video today, I'd appreciate it if you hit the like button. On screen there now is some other stuff that I've made that YouTube thinks you might enjoy. Stay out of trouble, and I'll catch you on the next one. Take care. Bye bye.